Blessed love and peace. We got another joint, another addenda to include in this joint. I know we almost done. We almost done. The crows are calling out. And I noticed I had to respond to the crows. Indeed, priorities. Of course, there's a hierarchy in this forest. Um, and actually, crows are not ones necessarily to abide by or to like to be obedient to, but do be mindful. Yo, crows. Those who knows, crows. Anyways, this is just one other thing to share, and it's actually rather, it's not, I don't say it's rather important or whatever, but it is. Ooh, the rains just started coming down too. OD. All right. We got a lot of activity going on. All right. Um, yeah, there's an incident recently, so I want to talk about this because it made me feel some kind of way. And I shouldn't be joking about that because that's actually what this is about, to be honest. We're gonna put the jokey joke a little bit on low in sharing this joint because this is one that requires sobriety and just like as straight talk as possible. So um, earlier this week, I did a recording. Be buzzing again. Earlier this week, I did a recording, and I was on the streets at a bus stop waiting for the bus, talking to this joint. And as I'm talking to the joint, as I do, I had a reference, and that reference was the Earth, Fire, and Wind lyric. Did I just say Earth, Wind, and Fire? Earth, Wind, and Fire lyric. Still didn't upload it. Yo, I fell off on that one on a couple days ago. So it must have been earlier because it was before Monday. Today is Wednesday. So, anyways, in the past week, standing in the corner, standing at the bus stop, lightweight corner, and waiting for the bus. As I'm doing that, I'm talking to this joint at that location, and as I'm making the banta, the whatever, I share Earth, Wind, and Fire reference, and like a second or so after sharing that reference, they're two young brethren, maybe high schoolers, a high school like one block away. They're young. It's a heavily trafficked area, meaning heavily. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic, people going places, a lot of places going on at that spot. So at that second, there are two young brethren walking by, and so I just like, yo, let me do like a spot check and just see if like this reference is got like if the younger generation is even on this. So I just Earth, Wind, and the two brethren said fire, and so I was like, yes, give thanks, continue on. And I didn't tell them to continue on because they didn't stop stride or anything else. They just on beat fire and kept on walking. Peace and blessings, y'all. All right, there it is. Beautiful thing. Just like connection with the young generation. Haven't talked to them to my knowledge ever before in life or seen them, nor they I. But at the same time, just that one thing: Earth, Wind, Fire, without a beat, shared reference, meaningful shared reference on the streets at that moment. So at that point, I'm like, yo, feeling that. Okay, cool. We the generation, everything going on these days, this and the other, old school, young school, whatever. Yo, that's positive vibration. That's positive, like a foundation to build further healing and guidance and cooperation. So, yo, that was yo, that's a moment right there. So okay, cool. We continue on. We talk with people all the time, young people and otherwise, young people, elders, and around the block. So, whatever that means. Um, so, anyways, that was about a week ago, in the past week. Now, yesterday, a similar occasion. I just got off one bus, um, cross the street, catch the next bus to get to the next spot. So, I was actually in the same place, the same bus stop, not recording anything, but trying to think what's happening in the other when I was getting off the other bus. Um, I had a song in my head at that point. Actually, that's what it was. I had a song in my head. There was something that was going on. So again, experiencing that energy, had a song in my head. And part of the reason for I've been singing recently again back on the bus. It's been a while since I do that for a number of reasons. But now, particularly being out of practice, it becomes we got to be in shape in terms of voice and singing. So I've been singing on the bus further recently. The energy changes, the spirit changes when singing the songs. It can be further. It's very often just light and like positive, but at the same time, it can also lend itself to be to to the attention of predatoriness, and without getting into all that element, just being mindful of that's part of the nature. So, anyways, I'm singing, I'm feeling light, and I sing particularly because of people are on their devices, people are talking on the phone. There used to be messages and commercials that were very predatory in terms of giving blood, signing up for the military, having sexual intercourse without the intention of having children. So rather than listening to all these things and those planting suggestions and stress and everything else, sing a song to get some other thing. Because can't look out the window because the windows are blocked off with the advertisements. Can't we can put devices in, but then it's beneficial to just be without needing other things. And if anything, just be to progenerate it from ourselves. Songs is one way, mantras are another ways of doing it. When can't just be silent ourselves, because in that silence it's very difficult even to meditate with like somebody in the ear always. So sing songs and do mantras. And when singing songs, that affects the mental, that affects the health and well-being. So it affects the spirits and the energy. So I was singing a song, and the particular song I was singing a series of songs, and then it got to this one. I think there's different repertoire. Sometimes I just sing non-English songs. Sometimes I sing English songs. Sometimes it's songs based upon certain experiences or whatever else. I try to do things that match the energy, the language that people on the bus are. And additionally, certain occasions, sometimes it's exactly not speaking the language of the people around me. Not to be antagonistic or whatever, but it's to be further distant and to let it be known of distance and otherwise. So anyways, on this particular occasion, I'm singing English songs. And I get to this one particular song, which is actually a theme song to a television show from the 80s called A Different World. And the lyrics are actually rather positive, particularly talking about the black experience, but particularly talking about just life experience. And it's a real song about penetrating through the gaslight and all the fake stuff, particularly in American culture, and additionally to the point where like parents are finally real with the children and be like, look, like we've raised you this certain way and we haven't talked about certain things, but you're about to be in life right this moment, and so it's time for you to recognize and for us to let you know like what's going on in this world. It's a different world where you come from. So it's a heavy, real song, a positive song, and reinforcing, emphasizing relationship between parents and child as well. It's a positive song and it's a real song. So that's what the song I had in my mind as I'm getting off the previous bus. And so I'm in that energy at that same time. But that song is from almost 40 years ago, over 30 years ago. I'll say 30 years ago, in the 90s, early 90s. So, like, how many people know about the song? How many people my age know about that song? And let alone how many people the younger generation know that song. But if the younger generation doesn't know that song, it's beneficial to know that song. And then ask the parents, yo, you heard this song? Where you hear that song from? I hadn't heard that song in a long time. Da, 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 da. We do that frequently when we're doing our team. So anyways, that's my mindset as I'm getting off the first bus. Then I cross the street, go down to the next bus stop or whatever. Same one I was just at a week ago where I did the Earth, Wind, and Fire. So that's the vibration. It's a lot of traffic. It's comparatively safe. Less concerns about weirdness or cringe or whatever else, because there's a lot of people around and everything else like that. So as I'm approaching the bus stop, there's a young brethren, maybe 18, 19 years old, sitting on a bench, just sitting there. I'm like, okay, that might be someone to like share this with, but at the same time, he's sitting down. For me to match his space or whatever, it'd be me to like squat or whatever, or me to talk over him, and like I wasn't there. There's some elders that were a little bit further in distance, so then I would have to make my way to speak to one. And this wasn't like I was just rolling up on the spot, seeing what it was. So then there's one brethren who was right there too, who was just standing by the actual bus stop, and he was just standing there with no devices in his ears or anything like that. So it's like, okay, here we go. And now he seems to be a young brethren, again, teenager thereabouts, and then there's a lot of people in the space or whatever. So, but at the same time, he seems to be formidable, standing by himself or whatever else. Notice he's got an open wound on his arm, like a flesh wound. His flesh is visible, the little bit of blood or whatever. So first time I say, "What's up, Brian? What's up, brethren? What's up?" I was like, "What happened to your arm?" He's like, "Oh, football practice." I'm like, "Oh, okay. All right, you doing your thing?" And he said, "Yeah." So I was like, "Yo, I got something for you. It's a contest." And I was trying to think of, it's not a prescriptive thing or whatever, but I was just trying to think of a way of framing, like just to see if the point was to say, I got a contest. The thing you win if you win this contest is props. And so he's like, okay, whatever. And so I said, all right, this is the contest. I'm gonna sing a song, and the contest is to see if you know what this song is. And he's like, all right, fine. So I started singing that song. I know my parents love me. Stand behind me, come what may. I know now that I'm ready, yeah. For I finally heard them say, it's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world than where you come from. Now, that's the beginning. That's the first verse or whatever. It goes on, but I complete that just so the message gets completed for that part of it. And as I stop, I'm seeing if he's recognizing it. The whole time I'm looking at him. It's like if he's gonna be like, yeah, I know that. I didn't see any kind of like light up or whatever, but he's listening. And so as I'm completing that part of the first verse, there's an auntie sitting at the bus stop at the bench nearby, and she starts to call out to him, nephew, what's going on over there, nephew? I'm like, oh, okay. Like he was standing there by himself, but now she's calling him nephew, but that could be just a street thing. She's like just interceding, whatever. And then, but she's like, what's going on over there, nephew? And he kind of just looks at her like whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. So then already the vibe, the mood has changed, and I can see what's happening at that point. And she's communicating concern about what my intentions are, if I'm being a predatory or being pedophilia or whatever else at that point. So here we go with that. Now the thing is, there's certain understandability with strangers on the streets, and additionally, but at the same time, when that is done, as important as it is to do that, at the same time, when doing it, and it's not called for, that vigilantism, it detracts so much, and it's so frustrating because there's little defense. So I just tell her like, this ain't no funny business, no shade or whatever. We're singing a song, different world. Have you heard of that auntie? And she wasn't disrespectful outright. She wasn't belligerent, or she's just like, I just don't know what's going on, and this, that, and the other. That's my nephew right there. And it's like, okay, that's fine, beautiful. And the thing is, this happens very briefly because the bus is right there. I see the bus the entire time, and so I try to like communicate this before the bus arrives. So as she's saying that, she wasn't like, she didn't seem angry. She wasn't like hostile. She was just very like stern, and there it is. And so this has happened on a previous occasion, and initially again there's appreciation for adults having that kind of fortitude, but at the same time, it's also a matter of like, wait, hold up. This particular situation was much further mundane than preceding situations, and this wasn't my hood where I live in. Additionally, so the implications are different. But at the same time, it was just a week ago, and I have to check myself because any frustration I have with myself is actually, wait, hold up, why are you so frustrated? Why you feel so defensive? And additionally, it's like, oh, and yeah, does it not look suspect? A dude singing to a young brethren, maybe 15, 16 years old. And then being called out. Okay, yeah, all right, I see. And even if a brethren doesn't intend that, a brethren of my age, and additionally, has to be sober enough and mindful enough of how things can be seen. And that's what, and so that's frustrating. It's like we can't even be genuine because that's actually like what we've observed is like early stages of pedophilia. And even if not the early stages, it's one of the techniques of pedophiles, of being friendly, and they walk their dog. And additionally, so how does one differentiate between that type of scenario with a pedophile just being friendly, and additionally, and some gray-haired dude who's unmarried without children, and additionally, who doesn't intend pedophilia, but at the same time, how does anybody else know that? And that's what, hold up, okay, yeah, that is the point right there. So because of that, for somebody who's going to be all righteous and everything, they should be mindful of that and not even avail themselves to that type of suspicion. Yeah, okay, but then it becomes, so we when we get beyond our own ego and like our own hurtedness or whatever else, and just like devaluation, because it is devaluation, it's disrespect. What are you trying to say about me? What? How could you even think that? That's what? it's huge frustration about that. But then at the same time, why it's so frustrated is because actually there might be some point to that, that it does look suspect. But wait, hold up. I know what I'm intending. I know what I'm sharing. I know what I do. I know what I've been done. So wait, hold up. There's strong points on both sides, and for us within our own personal side, it's a matter of reconciling the legitimacy that exists within the concerns of others, even if unfounded or whatever. There's still legitimate concerns amidst the uncertainty. So we have to recognize it, we have to respect that, and we have to be dutiful about that. Now, that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean us stopping what we do or not talking to other people continually, because what we also recognize is that there's legitimacy on our sides. Everything we do is for a legitimate reason. Even talking to people, young folk particularly, still legitimacy, particularly because of the hostilities, particularly because of the toxicity within society, particularly because of the distrust and the manipulation and the predatoriness within society. There's an ongoing responsibility to be light, but it's a matter of doing it with a mindfulness and with ability and the readiness to reason when being questioned about it too. And it's tenacious, because it's not even deflation. It's just like, it's like a, how do I describe this? It's wrenching. It's a soul wrenching experience when one strives so diligently to be empathy, compassion, light, positivity, spiritual healing. And in the midst of doing that, not even when one goes through all the nasties in doing that, all the atrocities, vulnerabilities, and afflictions of doing that, and then in the middle of doing that, then is like questioned or accused of being malevolent or whatever else. And we're not perfect, and we have to recognize that ourselves. Like we have our indulgences and discretions and imperfections and inaccuracies as well. So we have to be accountable and recognize that, and that factors into what we do and the sobriety and mindfulness of what we do. So we have to recognize that. So there's always a ground for suspicion in anything we do. Just that's life, and that's based upon our track record and based on our continuing susceptibility. So we have to step with that when we step on faith, to step with that knowledge too, and not get reactionary when people might accuse us accordingly, even though we know we believe and we trust we're way so distant from that what we're being accused of. We have to recognize that there's still legitimacy within the accusation, which is frustrating. So that being said, continue to walk. It's frustrating. It's soul wrenching to walk truth and compassion and love and peace. Get the pains from doing that, the atrocities, the afflictions of doing that, and then be accused of intending or causing atrocities and afflictions and pains. That's one thing. To do the pains, to do the truth, that's one thing. Then to get the affliction, that's challenging. It's nasty. Stony roads we trod. And then amidst that, continue to do the truth, and then in continuing to do the truth and sharing light, then be accused and charged with shade and with atrocity. It's a triple thing, but that's not all. There's even further. How about this? Do truth, be afflicted, continue to do truth, be accused of doing nasty, and at the same time, in the exact same place, others are doing way nastier. Oh, so what, you're going to call me out after what's being done to me and I'm still doing it, and you're going to call me out or like call suspect on me, and at the same time there's cats that's doing way nasty, dirtier things, and you're not saying nothing about that? And then that's when we become like, so why are you coming at me? Why are you calling me out for doing this? Now, understandable, there's always reasons for calling anybody out for anything. So, but hold up, why are you calling me out? Because at that same exact spot where that bus stop is, what we talked about for years already, at that same exact spot, there's a huge luxury apartment building. We've called that out before. There's a huge luxury apartment building right there, exactly at that spot. The address is right there at the bus stop. It's a luxury apartment complex. So what's the big deal about that? One can throw a stone from that apartment complex and hit the high school that's right next door. right across the field. Can one actually throw a stone? If one can throw a football, Peyton Manning 100 yards or whatever else, there it is. 100 meters away from that high-rise luxury apartment spot, there are 14 and 15-year-olds going to school on a daily basis. Not only 14 or 15-year-olds, it's a very curated high school population of select science-based kinfolk who are very thankful for being privileged to be able to attend that school and very motivated to keep doing this. Is this the Playboy bunny ears? So who are very motivated to appeasing teachers and principals and administrators. Oh, we think you'd be nice for this program. We have this special project that's sponsored by one of our community organization partners. That just one of the people just so happens to live right next door. It's not going to be that obvious, but so we've talked about this phenomenon that's happening at the Heights here right now. A luxury apartment building is being constructed right immediately across the street where the rainbow swastika is, essentially, from the high school. 14, 15-year-olds, 13-year-olds going to school. There's a lookout tower. There's a lookout patio right in front of the high school. What you looking out for? Party? Yo, come on up. We having music. We got food. Come on up. Right there, 14, 15-year-olds. People live there. Is there a background check? That don't matter. The pedophiles, they got ways and means, names, and places. So all those background checks and everything, that don't mean nothing. Somebody's on the record, whatever. They give the keys to somebody else. What you talking about? And so they stay there for years. We know so-and-so. Yeah, they're so-and-so's cousin. Yeah, they're so-and-so's nephew. Meanwhile, oh, come on over. Come through. To the point they don't even got to say anything. They get the handlers or whatever. Easy access. So that's what's going on. That's the systemic institutional pedophile and brothels that are going on. At that same bus stop that we called out before, that we've been calling out, and that we get shade for calling out. We get smashed up tents for calling out. So then when we go at the bus stop and do what we do, and the auntie says, yo, what's going on there, nephew? Ooh, it ain't the first time that happens, so we should be mindful of that. But when it does happen, yo, it's soul wrenching. Wait, you're saying, you're questioning me, what I'm doing? Sharing light? And I ain't perfect, but you question me when I'm sharing light. Well, what about this apartment building right here? And I didn't get into all that. The bus was coming up at that point. And again, like, there's a legitimacy in calling things out, but at the same time, like, there's the further defensive we get, that, like, what you getting so all defensive for? So I just let her know, yeah, there's no shade, and I let everybody around, because it wasn't some isolated thing. It was all kinfolk around. He just happened to be that person at that moment. So let it be known to all the kinfolk, yo, ain't no shady business here. We talking about a different world song. You know that song? You remember that song? You know how it goes? And that was the extent of the conversation with her, because the bus came through. And he got on the bus, nephew got on the bus, and at that point, wait, hold up, that's your nephew? But he's on the bus and you doing something else? Wait, how? So it could be just street talk, like just her looking at a young brethren or whatever. But at the same time, what we also recognize is that it is a tactic where certain plants set up certain situations or whatever, and then find that opportunity of calling somebody out and making them look suspect, and then just it's that street prosecution to see what can be done in terms of provocation and reactionaryism, and additionally. So I think that's probably the second time that's happened to me outright, and it's soul-wrenching each occasion, and ultimately I only have myself to blame. And in the meantime, yo, we still gotta trod and do this work of life, do this work of truth. That being said, one other thing I'll say as a side note is that we also of the recent occurrence in the previous recording I do just a few minutes ago, half an hour ago or so, referencing brethren talking outside the window. Here's the thing about particular brethren. It is our confident estimation that brethren is a friendly, to be honest, all things said. Brethren is a friendly. And we're not just talking about friendly face, but a genuine friendly. There's confidence. We can't be actually 100% certain of whatever else, but there's confidence. And we know the nature of the game is kinfolk got to be have their distances, even when kinfolk are intentionally friendly. Kinfolk are purposeful. Kinfolk are like, yo, brethren Peter, you got things to do today, right? Yeah. And so there's all different types of things, all different types of signals, all different types of reasons for kinfolk doing things. There's all different types of cooperation and collusion for and against us that we know of and that we don't know of. And so that's the nature of things. And kinfolk don't say everything because kinfolk can't say everything, because there's intense surveillance all around the board. And so it's a significant amount already just to be verbal, just to be in this spot or whatever. So we speak to that as well, but at the same time, it requires patience, because even when there is that messaging of yo, get out, yo, remember you got the things to do. Yes, but guess what? We got something going on right now, and where was that deliberation? Who's the one who's calling the shots and saying what's what and everything else like this? You saying what's being done right now is not significant enough? Sometimes maybe not. Sometimes there's significance beyond what kinfolk actually know at this moment. There's always a reason. So to presume to say like, yo, we got that thing to go. Now, that truth be told, like even when we're talking about like bosses and like, we're not talking about like gangster bosses, but when we're talking about like even like religious leaders, rabbis, clergy, imams, and additionally, there's the nature of that work, the nature of this work, this vocation of being spiritual is having less of a sense of time and investing in the moment. And so when talking to somebody, like investing that moment, not worrying about what's going on around oneself, and just like, yo, here's the spirit right here. I'm speaking to spirit. But at the same time, there are people in that healer's life who have the responsibility, the assignment to keep a certain schedule. But like, yes, this is spirit right here, but we have a commitment to speak to some other spirits who are waiting for us. Remember that. So that's what brings the healer back into the world and continue on like, oh, that is right. We have a duty to abide by our intentions and our communications, and so we have to proceed accordingly. So it's a fine balance, because sometimes like it's necessary. This is a serious spirit that exists beyond the schedule, and this is prior to this, affects other things. And sometimes it's like, no, those other spirits are waiting on us. So even when it's a healer, a high healer, and additionally has to be called back to earth and back into routine and schedule. So, and meanwhile, it's patience and amidst the frustrations and everything else like that. So all that being said, and all different types of scenarios. That's just one scenario of articulating the conditions. And ultimately, guess what? Everything is that. The popo, the gangsters, the demons, the beasts, everything is just that reminder. Their spirit's waiting. So with that being said, we give all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim. Blessed love and peace in Rastafari.